Hey, here's your guys' practice quiz number 1. Explanation on how to do some of these. So for number 1, it says you guys have to factor each quadratic. So that means you have to factor A, B, and C using your guys' X method. So for this first one, notice that you can take a 2 out from each term. So right here, notice that I put out a 2. I factor out a 2 from each term, and then to simplify it, you just divide each one by 2. So 2 divided by 2, you guys, is 1, which gives us 1x squared. 2 divided by 2, you guys, is 1, which gives us 1x, and negative 4 divided by 2 will give us negative 2. So once you guys factor that out, now basically all you guys have to do is just factor out that quadratic. So remember, a times c, which is 1 times negative 2, goes on top, and the middle term, which is 1, goes on the bottom. And then you ask yourself, what two things multiply to negative 2, but when added gives you 1? And that's 2 and negative 1. And since this a right here is 1, all you guys have to do is just transfer these two to be the factors. So then it's just 2. Don't forget to write down the 2. X plus 2 times x minus 1. 2 coming from there, and then negative 1 coming from there. Okay, B. Well, we factor out this, so a times c is negative 24. And then the b term is just negative 5. So what two things multiply to negative 24, but when added gives you negative 5, and that's negative 8 and 3. And since this a value is 1, those are our factors, so x minus 8 times x plus 3. Part C. Now to get the top, remember you have to do your a times your c value. So 2 times 5 is 10, and your b value, which is 11, is on the bottom. Two things that multiply to 10 but added together gives you 11 is 10 and 1. Now notice your a value is 2. It's not 1. So when your a value is not 1, you guys, you have to write your first term twice. So 2x squared and 2x squared. And these, you put them to the denominators of both of them with a variable of x. So simplify this. You're going to get x over 5. And then simplify this, and you're going to get 2x over 1. So your factors are x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. Alright, so for a lot of these, you guys, for multiplying each binomial, this is how you guys multiply. You distribute twice. You do this one first, and then you do this one second. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 4 is 12x. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And then you guys just collect like terms, which is only these. So 6x squared, 12x minus 4x is 8x minus 8. This one, same thing. So you guys distribute this to there, this to there, and this to there, and this to there. So 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x. Negative 1 times x is negative x. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Then you guys just combine the two middle terms, so you're going to get 4x squared plus 7x minus 2. Part C. So distribute x to both of these, and then distribute the 4 to both of these. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Combine these two like terms, so negative 3 plus 4x is just going to be x, and then drop the other two. X squared plus x minus 12. Part D, distribute x to x and x to 6, and then distribute 5 to x and 5 to 30. Okay, so x times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 6 is 30. Then combine these like terms, we're just going to get x squared plus 11x plus 30. Alright. For problem 3, you guys, they give you one quadratic equation, and you have to be able to solve for that equation using 3 different methods. Zero product rule, completing the square, or a quadratic formula. Okay, so for zero product rule, you have to just factor this and then solve for x. So 48's on top, negative 14's on the bottom. Two things that multiply to 48 but add together is negative 14. That's negative 6 and negative 8. And since a is equal to 1, see how you guys, that's a is equal to 1, so all the factors are these two. So x minus 6, x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now for the zero product rule, right, you know that this thing is 0 or this is 0. So to solve for x, just do x minus 6 is equal to 0 or x minus 8 is equal to 0. You guys solve, so you would add 6 to both sides to get x is equal to 6, and you would add 8 to both sides to get x is equal to 8. So that's zero product rule. Now for completing the square. Okay, so first you guys have to get the constant to be on the right hand side, the one without the variable. So you need to subtract 48 from both sides, and then you guys get something like this. Now, do you guys see that blue? Originally that's not there, so after you guys move the 48 to the other side, you take half of the middle term and you square it. So half of negative 14 is negative 7. You square that, which is negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. So I know to add both sides by 49. Then, after you guys add by 49, you guys factor the left-hand side. So, 49 on top, negative 14 on bottom. Two things that multiply to 49 but add together is negative 14 is negative 7 and negative 7. Those are factors, so x minus 7 times x minus 7 is equal to 1. 1 because negative 48 plus 49 is 1. Alright, so notice how there's two of these, you guys, so that's going to be x minus 7 to the second power. And then to solve for x, you guys square root both sides. So square root both sides. Now remember, when you guys square root, there's going to be a plus or minus. Don't forget that. So x minus 7 equals plus or minus 1, and then there's two equations, right? X minus 7 equals 1, or x minus 7 equals negative 1. Once you guys have those equations, then you just solve for x by adding 7 to both sides, and you're going to get x is equal to 8 or x equal to 6. Which is good, because since we're doing 3 different ways to solve for the equation, our answers should be the same for both. Lastly, quadratic formula. Alright, so it's always good for quadratic to write down your a value, b, and c. So here's your a, here's your b, and here's your c. And I wrote them down. Alright. Quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So write down your a, b's, and c's and then just plug them in. So x is equal to a negative 14, which is positive 14, negative 14 squared, because that's b squared, minus 4ac, which is minus 4, times 1 times 48. So x is going to equal to 14 plus or minus 196 minus 192 all over 2, which will give you guys 14 plus or minus square root of 4 over 2. Square root of 4, you guys, is just 2, so you're going to get this, and then make your two equations. X is going to equal to 14 plus 2 over 2, or x is going to equal to 14 minus 2 over 2. Simplify those and you get 8 and 6. And you pretty much know you did it correctly because all three answers have the same. 8 is equal to 8, x is equal to 8, and x is equal to 6. Alright, number 4. Again, completing the square, you guys, to solve for the equation. So remember, constants need to go on the right hand side first. So add 15 to both sides. Now once you guys add 15 to both sides, remember, you take half of the middle term and you square it. Half of 14 is 7. Square that. 7 squared, you guys, is 49. So add 49 to both sides. Factor this side, so you guys are going to get this x method. So on top is 49, on the bottom is 14. Two things that multiply to 49 but add together is 14, is 7 and 7. So x plus 7 times x plus 7 is equal to 64. 64, you guys, because 15 plus 49 is 64. Square root both sides. Now I want you square root both sides, you guys, so that this square root and that second power cancel with each other. So you're going to get x plus 7 and then plus or minus 8. Don't forget the plus and minus sign after you guys square root. And then you guys make your two equations and then you solve, and x is going to equal to 1 or negative 15. Part B. So just because there's negative 4 right there, you guys, does not mean you stray away from how we did this. Remember, constants on the right. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. We're going to get this, and now to get the 9, right? You take half of this middle term and you square it. So half of 6 is 3. 3 to the second is 9, which is why you guys add by 9 to both sides. Factor this left hand side, so we're going to get 9 on top, 6 on the bottom. Two things that multiply to 9 but add together is 6, is 3 and 3. So x plus 3 times x plus 3 is equal to 1. You have x plus 3 squared, and to get rid of that square, you guys, you square root both sides. Once you square root both sides, the second power and the square root disappear to get x plus 3. And don't forget plus or minus 1. Make your two equations and then solve, and you're going to get x is equal to negative 2 or x is equal to negative 4. Okay, number 5. More quadratic formula. So here's your A, here's your B, and here's your C. Here's your quadratic formula, and then you guys just plug it in. So now careful, that's negative 3 for B, right? This formula already has a negative sign. So negative of negative 3 is going to be a positive 3. Then you guys are going to have negative 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 5. Multiply all that out, and you guys get this. Add the 9 and 40 to get square root of 49, and the square root of 49, you guys, is just 7. Then let's make our two equations. 3 plus 7 over 4, or 3 minus 7 over 4, because, right, plus or minus gives you guys two equations. You simplify and you're going to get x is equal to 5 halves, or x is going to equal to -1. Part B. Alright, when you guys do quadratic formula, make sure that it's set equal to 0. So in this problem, you have to subtract 10 first in order to set it to equal to 0. Then from here, your guys' a value is 2, b value is -7, and your c value is -3. Here's a quadratic formula and plug it in. So we're going to get 7 plus or minus -7 squared minus 4 times 2 times -3 all over 2 times 2. So in the inside of the square root, you're going to get 49 plus 24. And that's going to simplify to square root of 73. Now, you guys cannot simplify square root of 73, which means you just keep that, and then that's just basically going to be your answer. 7 plus or minus square root of 73 all over 4. And lastly, here's your guys' zero product rule. So remember, when you guys do by zero product rule, you have to factor and then solve for x. Well, this is already factored, so basically you just have to set this equal to 0, and you just have to set this one equal to 0. And then you solve, x is equal to -2 and 1. Alright, part B, that's already factored. So now all we have to do is set this one equal to 0, and this one equal to 0. And then you solve. Subtract 1 from both sides, divide both sides by 2, and you're going to get x is equal to -1/2. For this one, you guys, add 4 to both sides, divide both sides by 3, and you're going to get 4/3. Part C, so remember you have to factor first. We'll set it equal to 0 and then factor. So it's already set to equal to 0, so now we just have to factor. -18 on top, 3 on the bottom. Two things that multiply to -18, but added gives you 3. That's 6 and -3. So x plus 6, x minus 3 equals 0, and now set both of them equal to 0. Just like that. And then solve for x, and you're going to get x is equal to -6, or x is equal to 3. Part D. So factor this out first. Well, since the first one is 5, I'm going to see if all of them can be divisible by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. -5 divided by 5 is -1. And -30 divided by 5 is -6. So, we have this, and I did not show it, but I think I'm going to. X method, -6 on top, -1 on bottom. Two things that multiply -6, but added gives you -1. That's -3 and 2. So, put it here, and then now we could set both of them equal to 0, right? So x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 2 equal to 0. Solve for x, and you're going to get 3 and -2. So that's essentially what your guys' quiz is going to look like tomorrow. So study up and good luck. Peace.